Take a trip to the era of the new teenage craze of rock and roll and the pre-rock songs mom and dad preferred. The sound of happy days and drive-in nights with pop radio the way it used to be. From crooners to street corner harmony. To hear 50s gold, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
When you're a SiriusXM subscriber, you've got access to commercial-free music, channels from almost every genre, and channels created in conjunction with the biggest names in music. Eminem's Shade 45, Pearl Jam Radio, Bruce Springsteen's E Street Radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and start listening now.
Faction Talks, Trump Nation.
Joining us live, the one and only Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar. Go see Sammy live.
How am I going to go out and play most of my new records and play as many Van Halen records as I want? You see, I'm going to have to play for 3 hours or something.
Sammy, the word is intermission. You do an hour, take a break, go back.
But I don't know if I can play music that way.
Drunk Nation with Eddie Trunk, weekdays at 3 p.m. East, SiriusXM Channel 103. To hear Drunk Nation, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
There you go now. I think I'm Oh, let's see. You gotta get
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. According to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! 3 o'clock in the morning. Some people don't appreciate the fact that I'm trying to bring people together at 3 o'clock in the morning because they are party poopers. I got a joke I want to tell you. Knock, knock. Who's there? Yoda. Yoda who? Yoda, 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 who? I think I said it right. You know, Yoda, they only said Yoda's name one time in Star Wars. And they said his last name one time. And some people say, is it Yoda? Is it Yoda Kubagachi? No, it's not Yoda Kubagachi. Is it Yoda Fondue? No, it's not Yoda fondue. Yoda ping pong. No, it's not Yoda ping pong. Well, what is it? Yoda, lay-hoo. That's a praise. I found out his last name. It was all he used once. Yoda, lay-hoo. Oh, fair level war. I gotta tell you, I really do appreciate things with Big C Sports Podcast. I got some things I want to talk about today. That, I love NBA basketball. I got some things I'm going to play on Kyrie Irving. I'm going to play some things also on reparations. And POTUS said he wanted to ban TikTok, and now he wants to join TikTok. That's POTUS 25. But everybody has their own thoughts. The New York Yankees came out here to the West Coast, and they started beating up the Giants as if they came from the East Coast back in the day. That's what happened. But I'm telling you, the Yankees are a good team. The Giants played them close, but close is not enough. All fair level. Where I want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, I can't wait for the NBA Finals to start with the Boston Celtics taking on the Dallas Mavericks. And whatever it is, everybody has their own thoughts. I think Dallas is going to win today, or win the NBA championship. I'm going to tell you why. I think they're going to score more points than the Boston Celtics. Big C, that's not going out on a limb. Well, I don't want to go out on a limb. I just buy a bigger. But at the same time, my alter ego says that Boston's going to win another NBA championship because I think they'll score more points than the Dallas Mavericks. Oh, Big C, that is no going out on a limb. Well, I don't like going out on limbs. Last time I went out on a limb, I said, that's funny to me. I had to get away for some fresh air over the weekend, and it was really wonderful to get away for some fresh air over the weekend. But I got to tell you also with Big C Sports Podcast, what I love about doing the show is I get to bring it to you fresh, like some fresh salmon. Had some salmon last night. It was so good. It was like me lightning strike. The salmon was so good. It was put in some teriyaki sauce. Never had it that way before, but it's all fair and level. I really do appreciate that. What I want to say about Big C Sports Podcast, I always do my show a little bit different, and today is no different. I want to say what I do with Big C Sports Podcast is I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows, and then I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use my laughter in our lives. I know I can use my laughter. What do you say, Big C? I said, sometimes I can't hit that Michael Jackson octaves in my voice, but I try. It is a hard thing to do, especially when your voice is baritone like mine, if that makes sense to you. I want to sing, and then, not only that, the commercials are done, the stats are provided, and then I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. Kyrie, Irving, 4-3. Yes, get the whole bang in your life. I think that good old boy's going to have it's been Kyrie versus the media. The media's coming. And you got to be careful because when the media's coming, sometimes they tell you what they want you to hear. But I say listen with your own two eyes. Big C, how do you listen with your own two eyes? Well, eyes and ears, same thing. You still got to listen. Oh, Lord, life is so funny. Sometimes you just got to get away. What did Lenny Kravitz sing? He said, I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good to get away sometimes, especially when you have good company. It's always good to get away, and I really do appreciate that. Can we have a real Lenny Kravitz next time you want to sing Get Away, Big C? You can't get the real Lenny Kravitz. I can. And then, as I say, the show's uploaded to 25 podcast platforms out of New York City. Make that 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and then streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. I want to address the elephant in the room. Elephant in the room? Yeah, I want to address the elephant in the room. Some people say, Big C, you talk too slow. I said, what? Too slow? You ever do anything too slow, people? Imagine that. And then some people say, Big C, you talk too fast. I said, too fast? Sometimes you can't please anybody. I've learned a long time ago you cannot say the right thing to the wrong person, and you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. So whether you talk slow or fast, just do the best you can and make sure you talk. If you can talk, do the best you can. Not everybody's going to appreciate it. but I will do the best I can. I want to say I'll do the best I can on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you wanna give it some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. It's always nice when somebody's leaning back. There's times in life where you just say, God, you say, God, may I please? You say, God, may I please? Okay? And I know there's a great program called, it's a blog talk radio show on reparations called One Gong, and it's hosted by Marvell and Tim, and they have call-ins from all over the world, and really do appreciate that. They're focused on getting reparations, and I want to make sure I'm part of that too. And that's why we love giving those brothers praise. I say give them praise, praise, praise. Manhattan strike! If you don't give them praise, I love giving people praise where praise is due. At the same time, the Veterans Crisis Hotline is excellent, and I love giving that out. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. And just like in Genesis 1:3, but God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I'm going to see if I can play something. It's a commercial I'm working on. I'll see what it sounds like. But I just want to say, you gotta do the best you can, no matter whether people like a commercial or not. Sometimes I don't like my commercials, but I'm going to try to play it. And I hope that it makes sense to you in just a moment for Big C Sports Podcast. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide, Monday through Friday at 5 or 6 p.m. on the Big C Sports Network. We're on 29 different podcast platforms. I really want to say that. That's important to me. Also streaming on 4 TV platforms. I'm working on some new things to do, new ways, and I'm even trying to add the Big C Sports Comedy Hour. You think Dave Chappelle's funny? Yeah, Dave Chappelle's funny. Okay, that's fine. You think Chris Rock is funny? Yeah, Chris Rock is funny. Well, where you listen to Big C? I'm going to give you a preview of one of my jokes. You think about spending all that money to go see Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock? Listen to the Big C Sports Comedy Hour. Knock, knock, who's there? Yoda. Yoda who? Yoda. We want the real Dave Chappelle and the real Chris Rock. Well, I gotta work on my comedy and my timing. Oh, Fred level work. Well, that's my story, but that is right. Maybe I'll stay out of the comedic business. I gotta tell you, man, life is so funny. I've been working on some things with my RDC commercial, and I wanna play that so that I can understand that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And no matter what people think, I want to make sure I bring it out because I love paying homage to reparations and also the reparations task force because, as I say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I'm going to start the commercial. More like an infomercial. Okay, more like an infomercial. It says a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. Resource Development Consulting, Inc. In conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care. Solutions by the book. You ever do anything by the book? Helping seniors and their loved ones. Helping seniors get their benefits. And I'm telling you, Medicare and you, and taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. Other places, it's called Medicaid. All fair level war. Your spouse and family can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options. And I promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. Now, all paperwork communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Entitlement specialists? That's right. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. Now, have you ever known anyone to ever deal with skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone to ever deal with medical prescriptions? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical equipment costs? And more, not only that, protection of your assets! You ever have somebody try to protect your assets? With the RDC team, it's important because they say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. So our assets are terrible things to waste. You gotta have somebody protected. I love doing the commercial that way. And then, not only that, protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare debt brought by the government's estate recovery program can be for 10 to 40%. Called probate. You bet your assets. If you don't have your assets protected in a trust, the probate loves when you walk your assets into court. They try to take everything. You got to have the asset. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Asset protection. Is that the duck? Let me see the Aflac. No, Aflac is gap insurance. A duck can't protect his own assets. No one can protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. Asset protection. You got to get that right so you don't lose everything you got. And then a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. And not only that, I'm not done yet. I love saying I'm not done yet because I'm really not done yet. Asset protection in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones. Protection, insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care. Avoid probate. Life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, that's important. Money market account, certificate of deposit. Life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. Big C, you're talking too fast. Boy, last person just told me I wasn't talking fast enough. You can't please anybody nowadays. I just do the best I can. You get what you get, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. What about variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, other investments, and capital gains? Think about this. Avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. Where people are like, where can I buy that house, Big C? Is it a fixer-upper? You bet your assets it's a fixer-upper. And then say a year later, it's worth $1 million. And now it's not a fixer-upper. That's a $900,000 capital gain. You avoid the capital gains by having it in a trust. I didn't know that. That's why you got to call 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Oh, Big C, my insurance covers everything. That's not necessarily true. You know, I was just up in Denver Hills, and I know there's some pretty properties all over California. And we have fires, and then some places we even have floods in California. But do you know when there's some houses that burn down, and if they have fire insurance, they can be repaired and replaced at replacement cost. But if you have a flood and you don't have flood insurance, you know you won't get your house repaired. Insurance can say, well, in the fine print, do you have what's called flood insurance? You say, no, but I got insurance. Isn't that enough? And the insurance broker says, well, let me just make sure. Let's look at the fine print. And tell me where you have flood insurance, Mr. Jones. Oh, I got insurance. Doesn't it cover everything? Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't cover all of your assets. That's why you need the RDC team to help you protect your assets. I hope that makes sense to you. There were people burning their houses down in a flood because the good old boys realized, wait a minute, we don't have flood insurance. Well, we have insurance, don't we, honey? No, we have a fire insurance. But we don't have flood insurance. Yoda, 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 yoda. They called that guy in. And he said, well, who's going to protect our assets? And they said, well, you on the hook to protecting your own assets. You should have listened to Big C when he told you to call 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And all he needs is a copy of your declaration page. Why you need a copy of my declaration page, Big C? So we can see how we can better protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. Don't go burning your house down in a flood thinking you're going to get covered. The investigators find out what it is. And some good old boys were doing that because they know they had fire insurance, but they didn't have flood insurance. It really floods in California. So a lot of good old boys, they broke the law and may end up trying to get some time in jail. But you don't want to do that. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. And let us give you a quote for what it takes. We can beat mostly anyone in the country when it comes to your property and casualty, and also your other insurance needs that you need, like a trust, living will, revocable, irrevocable. That's all necessary. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. That's my story. I'm going to stick with it, man, like this strike. And now I'm going to get into something because I want to see when people say, yeah, so why would we go with you, Big C? Everybody says they have the best product, and that's true. And a lot of people say they have the best product, and some of them do. But as I always ask you, I'm the only consultant in the universe that will tell you to get a second opinion. I got a second opinion. Would you like to hear it? Yeah, Big C, what is your second opinion, Big C? We want to hear your second opinion. I'm going to tell you my second opinion. And you should have a second opinion no matter who you deal with. You got to get a second opinion. Because if you have a second opinion, you most likely to protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. I love saying that word. Yoda, 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 yoda. I got to tell you the second opinion for the RDC team, in conjunction with Big C Sports, is you got to have some powerhouse people, and they want to put their name on your product. We do it by the book, by the government's book, and that's what I love about working with the RDC team and Big C Sports. Well, not only that, I'm going to tell you the endorsements we have are from attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top lawyers in California when it comes to state planning. Mr. George Jones, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have Mr. Leon Woods, resource development consultant, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. Not only that, we have Ms. Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. You gotta give that some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. Not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO of RDC Consulting. And he had the endorsement of the CalPERS top legal mind, the late Robert Carlson. He endorsed the RDC team. If he can, and he was a top legal mind for CalPERS in California, then you can too. We have Mr. Alex De La Cruz, the founder of American Veteran Benefits, and he endorses the RDC team. Not only that, as I love saying, not only that, we have the endorsement of Charlton Curry, the National Black Wall Street Project co-chair, and also business development consultant with the RDC team. And I'm telling you, owner of Big C Sports Podcast, he endorses the RDC team because it helped my family also. If that makes sense to you. Not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Also consultant for RDC Consulting. Has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. And everybody likes to eat. It's like if you eat something that tastes so good, you say, I want to eat again. And she endorses the RDC team. You got to give it all praise, praise, praise. I say give it all some praise. And I love saying that. I want to say also before I get into what I want you to hear about I think the great Kyrie Irving is going to do his thing in this NBA Finals. I really do believe that. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. But God told Pharaoh, I want to say when I was at the Senate hearing in California, Senator Stephen Bradford is part of the California Reparations Task Force. When he spoke, he was like Moses. When God told Moses in Exodus, he said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And Senator Bradford and Moses said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. You know they passed reparations, Senate Bill 1403, Senate Bill 1331, and Senate Bill 1050. Now some people say I don't talk fast enough, so I'm trying to talk as fast as I can, but it's hard to talk fast. Try it sometime. And then some people say, well, if you could just talk a little bit slower, then maybe I won't have to keep asking you, what did you say, Big C? Well, if I talk slow, I feel like I'm going to fall asleep. You ever talk to somebody, they talk so slow? Like Yoda says, knock, knock, who's there? Yoda. Yoda who? Yoda, Loda, Yoda, yeah, you. What? See, the joke loses his compunction. Knock, knock. Oh, I got to tell you, I was walking around in Dimner Hills, California today, and someone asked me, do you know where the pool is? I said, the pool is probably outside. And then I asked a lady standing up, I said, excuse me, ma'am, these people are asking, do you know where the pool is? And she had a little lanyard around her neck, so I assumed that she worked for the place. And she held up a phone. She said, no English. No English. And then she held up her phone, and she had a translator on her phone. It's like AI. And she said, again. And she said again to the phone. And I said, the people are asking, where's your pool? You know what translated it in Spanish? And then she told me she couldn't understand English, but she's walking around with a translator in her phone. Like in Star Trek, they had this tricorder thing. And she was able to say, put at the phone, and I said, do you know where the pool is? And it read it out in Spanish. And then she told me back in English. And the phone told me. Is that amazing? That's technology. Give that some praise. So our next thing I said, do you know how we're going to get reparations passed? And she pointed to her phone. And her phone, it told me, yeah, you got to ask. You got to ask. You have not because you ask not. That's my story I'm taking with it. I want to say, I love saying things that are factual. And I know if more and more people can get behind this push of not being afraid. You can't please everybody, so don't even try. Then people are going to like you or not like you based on what you say or what you don't say. And that's what I like saying about what people can do in this world of reparations, because we know the Descendants of Holocaust got reparations from the United States government and also Germany. You can Google that, called the Just Act, and they made sure they get paid. And we're asking to do the same thing for California reparations. And I'm going to be the only sports show in the universe that will pay homage to the Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to thank the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank the vice chair, Dr. M.C. Brown. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. In fact, Dr. M.C. Brown was on the Big C Sports podcast about 2 months ago and talking about reparations and long-term care entitlements. As people get older, they need to know that long-term care is an entitlement. And some of those facilities, they'll charge you $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and you don't know that it's an entitlement. Signed into law by Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1966. He was right there by his side with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I love A.B.C. Brown coming on to the Big C Sports podcast, giving him praise. And then met California Senator Stephen Bradford many times at his office and also at Reparations Task Force. Love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She's also the expert when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Really do appreciate her. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. Professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to the California State Powerball because I won $500 million. You got it. You have not because you asked not. I keep saying I won the $500 million. Tonight, on Monday, January 3rd, 2024. Oh, makes you think you go again. Yeah, I'm telling you, I won tonight. I'm going to keep saying that. There's something called a Moet manifestation, where there's a gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. And it says how you talk to God when you mix things with emotion. And that's why a lot of times when you watch a football game or a basketball game, those players are getting hyped up before the kickoff and before the tip-off. They don't wait until the game starts before they get hyped. They get hyped up before. And that's why I say I won the lottery, because I bought the tickets. I don't gamble, but I'll buy a lotto ticket. That's my story. I'm taking with it. Hey, so I want to give the Reparations Task Force some praise. Today is Happy Monday. Yoda, 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 yoda. I want to play something on Kyrie Irving, and I don't mind sharing thoughts with other people and other programs on the Big C Sports podcast, because I think the media has been anti-Kyrie Irving. So there's some things I want to do that uplift him, because I think going back to Boston, the media loves it. They want to talk about anything negative that happened with Kyrie Irving in Boston. And at the same time, he's a great player. And it's about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I just think that either team can win, of course. Well, that's not good. That's not going out on a limb, Big C. Well, I don't like going out on limbs. But I do think I'm going to let you hear some things on Kyrie Irving. And you can give me your thoughts on it, too, because he's an amazing player. And it's not just about me. It's about him. But before I let you hear Kyrie Irving, I want you to hear one of the greatest speakers in the history of the United States.
About handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there. because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they're the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
They lack this drink.
Speech, the two nations of black America.
That's powerful.
And
reparations,
absolutely brilliant.
For
and
descendants
the
of
next
child
time
slavery
some white person
should be
talks
treated
about,
no
well,
different
I pulled myself up by my
than reparations for
bootstraps,
descendants
my family did too.
of Holocaust. That's a fact.
Especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking
Google the
about
Just Act.
How white,
just Google the JUST Act.
Google
it now.
The Indians,
the JUST Act.
And didn't just steal
and tell me how you can justify not passing reparations for descendants of child slavery.
And did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
And that is great. I love talking about reparations, and you should too. And now I want to hear something. I want you to hear something about NBA basketball. I love it. I want to have you hear about the great Kyrie Irving in the eyes and ears of other people.
Kyrie Irving.
What happens when you're one of the most talented players in basketball? Everyone knows how talented you are and people can recognize your accomplishments. But yet there is an entire network of people that have spent the better half of a decade trying to tear you down and define your character. Kyrie Irving's career started off pretty well, actually. He averaged around 17 points per game on 53, 46, 90 shooting splits. In fact, as a freshman, he led Duke to the Sweet 16. He'd be recognized as a great prospect according to scouts, and it would be enough for him to go number 1 in the 2011 NBA draft.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving from Duke University.
Kyrie was getting drafted into a very complex situation. The Cavaliers were just 1 year removed away from LeBron leaving the Cavs to go to Miami, hence why they even got the number 1 pick. So Kyrie had to come into a team with a terrible roster and was expected to perform exponentially. In his first season, Kyrie already showed promise as a young rookie, averaging around 18 points per game, 5 assists, and had amazing shooting splits of 47, 40, and 87. This was good enough for him to win the Rookie of the Year award, which surprised absolutely no one. In just his second season, Kyrie would improve statistically, bumping up to a 22 points per game scorer, and he even made the All-Star game. But he would also appear in the Rising Stars event, where he would put on a masterclass that no one had really seen in this event.
I would love to kind of try what the guards are doing in an All-Star game.
Was the great Al Eberhardt, Missouri Tiger great, who played with where he left off. He's got 21. Kyrie Irving. For Smith or for somebody else?
Kyrie Irving with that layup. 2-3, 3-2 type of guy to defend on the team's small forward.
His third season was more or less similar to his second season. He continued to improve as a player, he made the All-Star game, and he shot pretty well from the field. Cleveland as a team was actually showing some improvement with a 33-49 record and actually had a chance to make the playoffs at some point during the season. Coming into the lottery, the Cavs had a 1.7% chance to get the number 1 pick. No one really thought Cleveland was going to get a top pick, but all they needed was a chance.
The 14th pick goes to the Phoenix Suns, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Orlando Magic, Denver Nuggets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Charlotte Hornets.
That means that Cleveland has vaulted into the top 3, folks.
The 3rd pick in this year's draft goes to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks. And that means that the number 1 pick in the 2014 NBA draft goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins was said to have superstar potential, and pairing him up with Kyrie Irving and even Anthony Bennett, who was the number 1 pick the season before, it looks promising. Not to mention the fact that Kyrie had just signed a 5-year, $90 million contract extension. It looked like Cleveland was heading in the right direction. That wasn't until Cleveland had the opportunity to get a different player, one they were too familiar with.
It's people that came to me and said, LeBron, you gotta do what makes you happy. I thought about that and I was like, yeah, I think so. I think it's about time. And then I thought about it and said, hell no. I'ma do what makes my city and my state happy. And that's why I came back. I love you. I'm back.
On the surface, this looked like a great move, and it honestly was. But this would make Kyrie Irving feel a certain type of way. Kyrie would go from the surefire number 1 option to LeBron's number 2, when Kyrie was more than that. Kyrie wouldn't be the only player who had to take a back seat. People forget in the early 2010s, Kevin Love was a certified number 1 option who could average over 26 points per game with ease. But now being traded to Cleveland in exchange for Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, Love could no longer be the number 1 or even the number 2. He had to drop down to the number 3 that everyone was going to forget about. So it wasn't just Kyrie who felt this way, but honestly, who cares? Because the reason this team was put together was to win championships, and to end the season, the Cavs had a 53-29 record, good enough for the 2 seed. Kyrie was now in the playoffs for the first time in his career, and he had the opportunity to show how good he really was.
I said, I'll take great offense over great defense any day of the week.
Nice move inside with his 3rd field goal. Irving splits the defense and finishes. Irving pulls up, throws a foul, and ball. Irving again. Olynyk and Love fighting for it. And this could be moving. Love hurt himself? Yes, he did. His shoulder popped out. Yeah, he ran.
Cleveland Cavaliers announced Wednesday Love underwent surgery to repair his dislocated left shoulder. Love's season is now officially over, and he's projected to be out at least 4 to 6 months.
This would make the Cavs' big 3 drop down to just a duo. Also, quietly, Kyrie had been dealing with a right foot strain, but this wasn't known to the public at the time. The Bulls and LeBron always had great matchups in the playoffs, and this year was no different. The series was tied at 1-1, but that was until Derrick Rose had a chance.
Finds Rose. Rose trying to get open, fires away.
But if you think the Cavs are going down that easy, you'd be sadly mistaken.
James for the win. It's gone. LeBron James at the buzzer.
Cleveland wouldn't lose another game in this series, winning in 6 games. Now, Kyrie was still dealing with his injury and barely played in the Eastern Conference Finals up to Game 4. Kyrie, in his return, scored a solid 16 points on 6 of 11 shooting. While that sounds bad, he was on a minutes restriction, just playing 22 minutes. Regardless, Cleveland won by 30, advancing to the NBA Finals. Their matchup was a Golden State Warriors team that was led by Steph Curry, the unanimous MVP that year. The stage was set for one hell of an NBA Finals.
Sargentry lays it up with the left-handed in, and the Cavs lead 19-11.
Without Kyrie and Love, the Warriors were too much, beating the Cavs in 6. It was sad to see their season end like this, considering if healthy, they could have won this series. But the 2016 season was one to remember. Kyrie was injured to start the season, but he came back in December. The Cavs were back and this team was in full effect. The Cavs had won 57 games, ending as the first seed, and now it was their time for a finals run. But if this team was going to make it back, Kyrie would have to show up, and show up he did.
Just imagine the same passion that we put in the sports when they start putting that same passion into reparations. I want to fast forward to something on Kyrie Irving.
The three is on the way. Millsap is off, and it's over. Eastern Conference final in 6 games. And now advance to the NBA Finals.
I am not really expressing how I'm truly feeling. A week later, my grandfather passes. My grandfather transitions, and it's one of the hardest bit of news I could take in my life. That's what I had to go through in front of the public eye. Me grieving. So I'm angry. You know what I'm saying? I'm depressed. I'm over here dealing with real life grief. I cried, you know, about losing my grandfather, bro. And when I tell you that for the rest of the season I wasn't really myself, I definitely wasn't.
I think this gives us a perspective that most people didn't have on Kyrie before. He was villainized by everyone, including the media, yet no one had a clue what was going on. They judged him purely off of what the media told you and what they wanted you to know. The 2023 season was once again a disaster from Brooklyn. Steve Nash got fired early in the season, the team couldn't win, and Ben Simmons was showing us how he was a lost cause. In January, he would request a trade and was sent to Dallas. Most people were confused by this, saying that Dallas was wasting its time. People thought Brooklyn had won the trade because they had got rid of Kyrie and got loads of assets in return. But 1 year and some change later, look at how these two teams have aged. Brooklyn is garbage with no bright future in sight, and Dallas is in the NBA Finals, set to play Boston in a series where they could very much win. During his time in Dallas, there really has been no controversy and just pure hoops. It turns out when you're in a positive setting and your mental health is okay, you're not going to be in controversy. People say Kyrie is polarizing, controversial, and a distraction, but I think the word is misunderstood. When the world can't define you, they crucify you. The NBA media tried to take down Kyrie for years on end, but in the end, Kyrie would stay true to himself, and that right there is honorable.
In your life, get in the hole! Kyrie Irving for 3, yes! Bang, bang, bang!
250 years of slavery.
Listen to reparations.
Decades of Jim
compared
Crow,
to sports,
housing
and how we celebrate sports,
and
how we have to also start looking at reparations. Think about that.
250 years of slavery. Decades of Jim Crow, housing discrimination, and other forms of systemic racism. All of that has led to this: a shocking wealth gap between black and white households in the United States. An average gap of $850,000 that, some experts believe, can be solved by something long overdue: reparations to the descendants of enslaved black people. But how do we even determine who's eligible for reparations? And can the struggle for reparations in other parts of the world teach us anything about what needs to be done in the U.S.? To understand why there's a call for reparations, there needs to be an understanding of the scale of slavery. It was a crime against humanity in which around 400,000 people were forcibly brought to North America. Over the centuries, 10 million enslaved people were legally treated as property in the United States, brutalized and ruthlessly exploited for free labor, which was used to establish the country as a leading global economy. In fact, one historian estimated that by 1860, enslaved people were, quote, worth some $3.5 billion, making them the largest single financial asset in the entire U.S. economy. That's around $115 billion today. When slavery was abolished in 1865, 4 million formerly enslaved African Americans were freed. But through their forced labor, they created billions of dollars in generational wealth for their captors and none for themselves. Back then, The U.S. government understood the need for reparations and passed an order to distribute 40 acres and a mule to all formerly enslaved families so they could build wealth and financial security. However, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the allocation and returned the land to former slave owners. One way to reckon with America's past and current wealth disparity is through reparations that close the racial wealth gap.
You should make direct monetary payments to the eligible recipients.
That's economist William Darity. He co-authored the book From Here to Equality, which outlines one of the most comprehensive plans for what material reparations could look like.
So we estimate that this would require an expenditure of approximately $350,000 per eligible recipient. You get a figure of approximately $14 trillion.
Reparations for the crime of slavery and its legacy have long been a subject of national debate.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea.
And I think they're using what academics would call the theory of distance, that something is too far in the past to have contemporary application.
So it's easy to see why Congress has yet to pass H.R. 40, a bill that was proposed all the way back in 1989. It would set up a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery and its subsequent racial and economic discrimination against African Americans. And while you cannot place a monetary value on slavery and its lasting effects, there's a precedent of reparations programs compensating victimized communities directly. Back in the U.S., the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 designated $20,000 payments to Japanese Americans who survived internment camps during World War II.
The U.S. government has also made payments in instances where it was not the culpable party. Payments made to families that lost loved ones during the course of the 9/11 attacks, as well as payments that are being made to individuals who were held hostage in Iran at the end of the Carter presidency.
Up to $4.4 million per hostage or their estates. In the case of slavery, the U.S. government did promise reparations. It's just reneged on it. In fact, when the U.S. finally issued an apology for slavery, it included the disclaimer, "Nothing in this resolution authorizes or supports any claim against the United States or serves as a settlement of any claim against the United States." Nor did the U.S. ever provide true reparations, a process consisting of three things: acknowledgement, redress, and closure for grievous injustices.
It's vital that the federal government issue an apology because that will create the justification for the redress plan that follows.
That brings us to who would actually receive reparations. Those direct payments would go to the roughly 47 million Americans who identify as Black. But under Darity's plan, the requirements are a little more strict. First, Black Americans would have to have identified as Black, Negro, African American, or Afro American for at least 12 years before any reparations plan goes into effect. And they'd have to prove that they had at least one ancestor who was enslaved in the United States. One way to do that is using the census. If your ancestor was present in the 1870 census and was old enough to have been alive in 1850 or 1860, but you can't find that person in the 1850 or 1860 census,
that would suggest that they were probably enslaved.
That's because before slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment, enslaved people were not counted in the census.
They're actually missing people from the 1850 and 1860 census, and their absence there is a potential indicator that they were probably enslaved.
But while Darity's plan has received traction, it still faces opposition.
The impression down here is that Caribbean people who live in the United States, Black people, would not be entitled to any reparation paid by the U.S. government. But we are saying that's not right. We are saying that's divisive of the Black population in the United States. We are saying that Caribbean immigrants have been harmed by that system through racial profiling, discrimination.
See, the Black population in the U.S. is pretty diverse. Most black people are foundational black Americans, meaning they're American descendants of enslaved people. Others are immigrants or the children of immigrants who came to the United States from mostly African and Caribbean countries. Those individuals may have ancestors who were enslaved, but wouldn't be considered eligible recipients for reparations in the United States.
Descendants of the enslaved have a claim that's linked directly to the failure to provide their ancestors with the promised 40-acre land grants. And that's uniquely a debt that is owed to the individuals who were enslaved and it was not met, and to their descendants. The second reason that's somewhat related is the fact that the current or existing racial wealth gap in the United States is a consequence of policies that have been pursued by the federal government that built white wealth to the detriment of black wealth.
A major policy Darity is referring to is the Homestead Act of 1862, or H.R. 125, legislation to, quote, secure homesteads to actual settlers of public domain. The policy incentivized citizens to move onto and settle land that had been violently stolen from indigenous nations. It provided 160-acre land grants to over 1 million white families for a small fee, but excluded the 4 million formerly enslaved people from the program who had already been denied the 40-acre land grants they'd been promised. Through the act, 270 million acres of land was settled across 30 states over 124 years. Remember, owning land generates income, and passing land down to the next generation builds wealth. So the consequences of that decision are seen today. Approximately 45 million living white Americans have benefited from this massive asset-building legislation.
I would argue that virtually all black people throughout the diaspora, the African diaspora, have a claim for reparations, but they don't all have a claim for reparations from the United States government.
The horrors of slavery and its consequences are not uniquely American. The transatlantic slave trade transported approximately 12.5 million enslaved Africans across the Americas. The overwhelming majority of enslaved Africans were shipped directly to Latin America and the Caribbean. Spain and Britain shipped around 1 million enslaved Africans just to Jamaica. By 1833, slavery was abolished throughout the British Empire. But instead of compensating formerly enslaved people, Britain provided reasonable compensation to slave owners through a then £20 million loan, which British taxpayers fully repaid in 2015. According to one estimate, that's worth over 20 billion British pounds today. For decades, descendants of enslaved people have been fighting for reparations in these regions, and in 2013, several Caribbean countries united to form the CARICOM Reparations Commission, which developed a strategy for reparations that focuses on reparatory justice.
The 10-point plan begins with the demand for an apology,
which is followed by calls for repatriation, an Indigenous Peoples Development Program, eradicating illiteracy, and debt cancellation, to name a few. CARICOM has sent letters requesting reparations from countries like Spain, France, Britain, and the Netherlands.
The response was negative for the most part. No country admitted to the wrong. No country took responsibility, no country apologized, no country committed to repair.
Today, we're still living with the legacies of colonialism and enslavement that have left black populations across the globe at a disadvantage.
There is definitely a case that can be made that there has been a global pattern of exploitation of people of African descent.
We're here to demand what's owed to us from the United States government.
And despite incremental progress and different approaches to reparations programs, people across the Americas continue to fight for redress.
Right now, this is a contentious issue. It's affecting relationships, world relationships, global relationships, country versus country disputes exist. I think reparatory justice would help the society to heal itself. Both people of African descent, African people, and European people. I think it will be good and beneficial to all of us.
Reparations! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Reparations! When do we want it? Now!
Man, lightning strike! You can't say you don't believe in reparations if you believe in doing the right thing. Just do the right thing. And if we all do the right things, then we'll have reparations now Reparations forever in your life. Get the hole. The same way we're going to celebrate NBA basketball with the Boston Celtics taking on the Dallas Mavericks. We need to celebrate reparations as well. I'm going to talk more about some professional. It's so powerful because I've been putting a lot of thought into this. And I'm going to be entertaining some of the top black African-American sports agents in the United States. And they represent Major League Baseball, NFL football, NBA basketball. Touchdown! Home run! 3-point play! Oh, man, Willie! He's going all the way. But the black sports agents, they're closing deals and making history with top 10 draft picks in 2023 and 2024. For example, 2023, the NBA's draft, which took place in New York City, the same state that's commissioned the Reparations Task Force. It was at the home of the Barclays Center, home of the Brooklyn Nets. And as I mentioned, Kyrie Irving earlier, he played for Brooklyn, and now he's playing for the Dallas Mavericks. But there's so much focus on media trying to put black men in just a sports touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. But for one of the record books, for the first time in history, and in any sport, the top 10 players selected in the draft, they were represented by African-American agents. According to diverse representation that Big C Sports is a part of, I'm so proud of so many things happening. When you think about Victor Wembanyama for the San Antonio Spurs, African-American agent. Brandon Miller, Charlotte Hornets, African-American agent. Scoot Henderson, Portland Trailblazers, African-American agent. Amen Thompson, Houston Rockets, African-American agent. Ansar Thompson, Detroit Pistons, African-American agent. Anthony Black, Orlando Magic, African-American agent. I'm going to get into it more and more coming up in this week. But imagine if we could get those same top sports agents to gather around with some of our top legal minds, black and white, and champion reparations the same way the German government and the United States Department of Justice champion reparations for the sins of a Holocaust. No one said, oh, that's too divisive, Curry. Come on, Big C, you must be out of your mind. No one said that's too divisive. In fact, people push for it. We got to do the same thing for the descendants of child of slavery. I love sports as much as anybody. We know it's a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And reparations, it's about doing the right thing. Imagine if white Americans were enslaved by black Americans in the United States. And it's proven that they had land, money, wealth, unpaid labor in a court of law. They would want recourse. They would want repair. Except for Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He wouldn't want any money. That's why he works. He wants to give all of his money back to charity because he doesn't believe in getting paid for your labor. At least that's what he says when it comes to the descendants of child of slavery African Americans. But we come from kings and queens. Slavery was a stain on America's development, and it's time to fix it. And get all that talk about, well, we don't need to do it, it's too divisive. Remember that when you go to get your paycheck. Doing the right thing is never divisive. If doing the right thing is divisive, then get rid of the court system. If doing the right thing is divisive, then why do we have a court? If doing the right thing is divisive, why do we have a court system? We have a court system to repair wrong. POTUS 45 just got accused of being guilty on 34 counts because of a court system. That same court system, to do the right thing, should champion reparations. The same way we champion touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to end today's show with knock, knock. You know, Yoda in Star Wars, only one time did he ever have his last name appear in a Star Wars series. It was Yoda. Knock, knock. Who's there? Yoda. Yoda who? Yoda, 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 Yoda. Okay, maybe it's not as funny as it was when I was told. That's my story. As I always want to sing, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy on my mother's side, my great-grandparents, mama and pop. my grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, and I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Asking God for a miracle today, because sometimes you just want to get away. What did Lenny Kravitz say? I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, 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 oh yeah. We want the real Lenny Kravitz. Well, you get the Big C Kravitz for today's show, and that's my story. And then my mother always saying, rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert Curry and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They owned 3 churches. They had 2 gas stations in Oakland. I remember walking down our hallway, 8 years old, about 10 o'clock at night. I felt somebody touching me in my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies? I said, what are you doing? Grandma, it's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap. That's what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt, because I've been waiting a long time. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And I said, well, can I get my reparations now? Just wonderful, wonderful people. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Whether they appreciate her. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. You know, my grandparents owned 40 acres of land too, by the way. My dad always said, develop your mind to his highest extent. And I really do appreciate my dad. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd speak. A voracious reader, always saying go forward. I love my brother Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back in the day at Saying the Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They would normally go to ESPN, but because of 2 black men in the crew, they came to us. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon from against will prosper. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, college graduate, very smart every day. A good man. You can be anything you want to be. I love you, Malcolm, with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, give me anything you want to be. Always trust God. You got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. And then Big C, Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. SB nominated, Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. All I have is that gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God. That's why I won the lottery tonight. It's called Powerball. That's my story. And I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You could call Uber. You could call Lyft. You could walk it off. You could sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you saved may be your own, or somebody that you love, or somebody that somebody else will love. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Well, as my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. If somebody's hitting you, I only hit you because you made me mad. Call 911. If somebody's kicking you, I only kicked you because you made me mad. Call 911. If somebody's choking you out, I only choked you because you make me mad. Call 911. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always say on every Big C Sports quote, there's a great promoter in the past. His name is Drew Bodini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now. Reparations forever. Say it with me sometime. It makes you feel good. You know it's true. We got to do this now. We got to champion reparations now. Reparations forever. Say it like your heart, mind, body, and soul believes in it. If you want to do the right thing, then do the right thing. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.